Hi, I'm Amy Kelly and this is my allotment. I am very pleased to say that we are starting to get on top of the weeds situation here, but if I'm going to make a proper job of this, I am going to need some serious weeding firepower. So today I am testing 4 brand new weeding tools that I've never used before. I'm going to try them in a number of different weeding situations and tell you all the good points and all the bad points and the best way to use them, because you might not have seen some of these tools before. So please do like and subscribe this video because I've got lots more planned to show you. But for today, let's get stuck into some serious weeding. Let's meet our 4 contestants. So first on the list is this very handsome Kent and Stowe Capability gardening tool. It's named after Capability Brown, who was a famous old-fashioned UK gardener. The idea is this tool is supposed to do all sorts of jobs. So there's a little built-in hammer at the back, there's a sawtooth edge at the side here, and a very sharp point. First impressions are it has a lovely hand feel. It's got a beautifully turned wooden handle, so it's really comfortable to hold, and that is strong. That is stainless steel. I have bent and broken I can't tell you how many hand trowels, so we'll see how this one gets on. But first impressions, very good. Feels very solid, very sturdy. This one could potentially be a contender. Then we have this interesting one from Fiskars. This is called the Xact garden tool. It is again stainless steel, very strong, very sturdy feel to it. It is quite heavy in the hand, but there's a long enough handle that you could grip that two-handed for really big weeding jobs. Smooth edge on one side, serrated edge on the other. Very comfortable in the hand. This has got a rubber grip rather than a wooden grip, but nice, strong, sturdy, comfortable feel to it, and that is not bending at all. So this one could be good for those really tough weeding jobs. Now this is from a brand I haven't heard of before, Mikeer or Mikeer perhaps it's pronounced. It's just called the weeding tool. It has these 4 quite sharp little prongs and then a sort of crescent moon shaped piece at the end. Presumably this is for pulling out weeds on the surface. It's an interesting angle to it. I saw quite a few similar design style tools on the internet, so I really wanted to have a go at this. Wooden handle, very light in the hand. Construction at first glance doesn't look perhaps just as good as some of the others, but the proof is in the pudding, so we'll see how this goes once we get it into the garden. The weeding tool. Now I will try to hide my excitement about the last one. This is a razor hoe. You'll often see these called a Japanese razor hoe. This is from Bergen & Ball. As you can see, the shape and design is quite different from your conventional Dutch type hoe. These come in left and right-handed models. So if you're buying one for yourself, make sure you buy one for whichever hand you're most comfortable in. This is the right-handed version. Now this is supposed to be made of folded steel and have a very sharp edge, and I must say it does have a lovely sharp edge. You can see on the back there, I'm not just 100% convinced on that metal quality there, but it could be completely superficial. It might be strong as an ox. We will find out when we get started. Now it has quite a sharp edge on it. These are supposed to be really good for hoeing out shallow weeds, really good for no-dig gardening, and the idea is for those deeper weeds you can just turn it and use it at that angle. Just a plain, smooth, no nonsense handle, feels perfectly comfortable in the hand, well balanced, quite light. I'm very excited to get stuck into this one. To make our tool test as comprehensive as possible, I am going to trial these 4 tools in several different gardening situations and see what comes out on top. So, test number 1, gravel path. So we have here just an ordinary stone gravel path with clover and grass growing in it. So let's see how these tools handle it. I'm going to start with the Fiskars Xact gardening tool. So let's see how we get on. Ready, set, go. So that stainless steel blade is going through that like a knife through butter. That is really lovely. So we got that out very quickly. roots all intact. Well, that was pretty good. That sharp, small edge inserted between the stones really smoothly, really strong body of stainless steel there, so there was no give at all while I was working with it. And that ergonomic double-handed handle made light work of that, so that was pretty good. Next up, I am going to try the Kent & Stone Capability Trowel. So again, stainless steel, really sharp point on that. So we'll see how we get on. Ready, set, go. Okay, so that is a little bit more effort to push through the gravel, but it's a much larger surface, so it is making really short work of that. Again, roots all intact. That was very impressive, very little effort needed there. Comfortable handle, a little bit of force needed, but with that pointed tip, it was able to maneuver through the stones really easily. So that one, definitely a contender. Now, the Japanese-inspired razor hoe. This is the sort of job that this tool should be good at in soil. I'm not sure how we're going to go in the gravel. Let's see how we go with it. Ready, set, go. So I think you're getting the hint there that this is quite a bit more work with this tool. We are getting there. We certainly are getting there. Okay, so mixed results for this one. A little bit slower, but a lot less effort. That pulling motion rather than pushing. Whatever way the muscles work, that is a heck of a lot easier. I think if you had concerns with hand strength or arm strength, that would probably be your better bet than the last two tools. Still has done an effective job, just took a little bit longer. So the technique I was using there was digging that point into the gravel, wiggling it, and then wiggling it as I pulled it towards me, and that seemed to work really quite effectively. And last but by no means least, our little weeding tool. Not sure how those small but sharp teeth are going to cope with the gravel. Only one way to find out. Ready, set, go. Right, so we have got quite a good area done there. It's not lifting out in great big chunks, so you can see there's a little bit left behind there. Have to go back for, but very quick and easy, just a simple little pulling movement on that, and that lifted those shallow roots up really easily. And again, because it's that pulling movement, much more economical for your strength and your muscle usage. I mean, you could do that half the day before you got sore with it. Whereas I think with either of these two tools, you would start to feel the strain in your hand a bit sooner. So certainly for rapid weed removal in a gravel path, this one has to win. That was for sure the quickest. This one second quickest, and then probably a tie on these two. I want to get this done quickly, so let's get stuck in. Weeding challenge number 2, overgrown garden bed. So this is all, again, shallow rooted weeds, no dandelions, nothing like that. And we're going to see which of these tools is fastest at clearing a little row of this bed. The Fiskars Xact weeding tool. Ready, set, go. Well, I don't know if it is by design or if I am just making it up as I go along, but one side of this has got a serrated edge. So my technique here was very similar to hoeing. I simply put that serrated edge on the ground and then was pulling it almost like I was shaving the soil. But it seemed to work really well. We've got pretty good weed eradication for a very quick race condition weed. So Not too bad on that one. Let's see how we go with our next tool. We have got the Kent and Stowe Capability Trowel. Same situation, weeding a 1 foot strip of this bed. Ready, set, go. All right, well, I have to say, I think that was a bit quicker and a bit more thorough. My technique here was to stick that lovely pointed end of the stainless steel blade into the soil, dig underneath the plant, and then just move my way along the row, and that seemed to work really effectively. Japanese inspired razor hoe from Burgeon & Ball next. Now this tool really should excel here. This is exactly what this tool is made for. So the technique is very simple, just underneath the soil surface and pulling towards you. So I'll just show you here on the bare soil, just under the soil surface and pull towards you. And that should cut all of the roots. So we're not even needing to necessarily upend small seedlings and things. If you cut through the roots, that kills them off. So that is what this is designed to do. So I'm expecting a really fast time here. So get myself some fighting room. Ready, set, go. Yep, easy, easy, easy. All day long, easy, easy. That's a really economical movement. Hardly any effort needed at all. Just absolutely wiped the weeds clean. Brilliant. I mean, we were expecting good things in this round. You have not disappointed, Burgeon & Ball razor hoe. Well done. And lastly, our dinky little weeding tool. So again, this is the sort of weeding that this is designed for. Shallow roots, soft ground. Let's see how we go. Ready, steady, weed. Pretty good. Now when you compare the width of that to the width of this, it's almost 3 times. So you would expect this to be able to be getting a lot more weeds up in one go, which it definitely did. The other issue that we had with this one, once those teeth have captured a weed, it is all clogged up. It really can't take any more weeds until you stop and pull that out. So if you have got a bed with individual little weeds that you just need to hoik out, this would be absolutely perfect. But for this bigger scale weeding challenge, unfortunately, I'm afraid this one just hasn't cut the mustard. So the results of our rapid weeding challenge. Absolutely standout star, razor hoe, hands down, quickest, easiest to use. For this sort of weeding challenge, no question, that has come out on top. So that means it's time for deep-rooted weeds round. So we're talking about dandelions, dock, anything with that long taproot that's hard to get out. And I've got some great examples here, so let's see how these tools manage. Let's talk about tool technique. The way that you use these tools is going to significantly impact how much benefit you get from them. So first of all, let's talk about the razor hoe. Now this comes in left and right-handed models, so make sure you buy the correct one. You can use it for weeding out shallow rooted plants by simply placing it on the soil surface and drawing it towards you, or you can angle it to get down to deeper roots. We've got some little dandelions here. I'm going to use the Japanese razor hoe, poking the tip down into the soil, giving it a wriggle, and then just levering that long taproot up. Of all the tools I'm testing today, the one that is specifically designed for deep-rooted plants with a long taproot like dandelions is the Fiskars Xact tool. So this is really simple, lovely big long double handle, so you can get plenty of strength behind it. Use your weight to push down into the soil, and we've got the handle going nice and deep there. Give it a little wriggle, pull it out, and then again, other side, little wriggle, little wriggle, little wriggle, and little wriggle. Now, if you were trying to pull a weed out of a lawn, for example, where you didn't want to damage anything all around it, you could just pull the root up at this point, but I am going to apply a bit more weight and lever it up. That's so easy, that's really satisfying. We've got our lovely long taproot. It's come out beautifully with that. This little tool, frankly, just isn't going to get those deep roots, so we're not even going to bother with it, but the garden trowel will, as long as they're not too big. So you have your nice sharp tip, you pop your tip down in the soil. Again, you've got that nice wide top, so you can use the heel of your palm to push down, give it a wriggle as you go, and then levering it up. So as you can see, that's taken out quite a clump of soil there. So if you were weeding in your lawn, for example, you could just pull out your dandelion, pop that little clod back in, give it a push, and good as new. You will not be surprised at all to hear that the winner of our deep-rooted weeds round is far and away the Fiskars Xact weeding tool. Second place, the Kenton Stone Capability Trowel. Third place is the razor hoe, and last but not least is the little weeding tool. And really it's all down to the design of these tools. Each tool has a job that it is really designed to be its primary function. So you can't have one tool that does everything perfectly. I mean, if we look at this, so I've got a lovely little dandelion here, lavender bush around it, path on two sides. You're not going to want to get a great big garden fork or something in there. Lovely little tool like this, right up against it so not damaging any other roots. Lovely, comfortable two-handed grip and straight. Oh, that is so satisfying. Look, that has just gone right down to the hilt. This is not the softest soil in the world. It's just got that really fine, sharp tip. And we're just levering, insert. That's so satisfying. That lovely deep soil penetration is just a treat. So loosen it up on four sides and lever, and you can really get some force behind that nice strong stainless steel blade. And there's that nice long taproot coming out. To be fair, it has broken off right at the tip, but I mean, that's pretty good. If I tried to pull one of these up by hand, I've got one here. So if I try and pull that up, not one bit of root. So yeah, you really need a tool if you want to get the taproot out. And I would be surprised if that dandelion grows back, because that's a lot of that root taken out. But if it does, I've got the right tool for the job. I've moved into the fruit cage, which was one of the first things that I built whenever I got the allotment. It's basically a large structure covered in bird netting so that the birds don't eat all the fruit before I get a chance. And as you can see, it is woefully neglected, but it is the perfect venue for our Weeding Under Bushes challenge. I'm here among what is left of the gooseberry bushes after the sawfly have had their evil way with them. And as you can see, we have got about 2 foot tall mare's tail and some grasses. So let's see how the different tools get on here. First up is our little hoe. So I'm just going to run this along the base of some of the mare's tail. Doesn't look like we're getting any roots off, but you really don't need to with mare's tail. You're just looking to cut it off at the soil surface. So that's a yay for this tool for the mare's tail. Now I've got a little clump of grass here, so we'll see how this copes with that. Well, it's done okay. It's pulled up the roots, but it's already full. So you're going to spend a lot of time dig, pull out the weeds, dig, pull off the weeds, dig, pull off the weeds. So it could be fairly slow growing for a large area of weeds with this little one, but it's doing a perfectly good job of pulling out those shallow roots. Right, let's see how our Japanese inspired razor hoe goes. So mare's tail first. Yeah, and it's just slicing through those stems beautifully. So no problem there. I mean, this tool was practically invented to deal with this sort of weed, so that is perfect. just clear a bit more here so you can see better. So that's made really short work of that. Now, I've got cardboard down here as a weed suppressor. So let's see how that goes for getting this grass out. Okay, so I'm finding that the razor hoe is catching on the shallow roots of the gooseberry. So yes, I could get the grass out with this, but it's going to damage my gooseberry plants. So fantastic for the mare's tail, really good. I would say this is the top mare's tail tool, hands down, but it's just not doing as well in these weeding around your shrubs or bushes sorts of situations. Now, our big heavy duty Xact weeding tool that was so fantastic for those big long tap roots of the dandelions, let's see how it copes with this lighter weeding job. So I'm not sure how many actual roots we're getting here. You can force it under the soil and maneuver it and get the roots out, but it's not easy. I've got big strong hands and I'm really having to struggle to try and get that lever, so not great for this one. And the Capability Trowel, let's see how that tackles our mare's tail and grass. Now, to be fair, that's a much bigger clump than I've tried to get out with the other tools, so it did take a little bit of effort, but we've got all of the roots out nice and cleanly. The serrated edge there was really good for chopping through the mare's tail. I would say this is probably a pretty good all-round tool for these sorts of jobs where you're going to be tackling lots of different kinds of weeds. So I think I'm going to carry on with this one for a little while and see how we go. Ta-da! A whole 3 square feet beautifully weeded. Now I just have to do that 49 more times. Because there was such a diverse range of weeds here and every gooseberry bush is different, the roots are all different, there's no point trying to judge this by speed. So we're just going to go with what was the most effective. And unfortunately, in last place was this little weeding tool, which is good for some things, but those teeth were just too happy to grab onto roots underneath the gooseberry plants. So not a great one for weeding under hedges if you've got shallow rooting bushes like gooseberries. Third place is the razor hoe. Again, the roots are so shallow, you could sort of use the point to get in and dig around underneath, but this tool, sadly, not great for any shallow rooted bushes if you're trying to weed under things. Great for open ground, but only third place here. Now in second place, but with an honourable mention, is the Fiskars Xact gardening tool. Where I had deep rooted plants like dandelions, that was so satisfying to get them out with this, and it didn't disturb the roots of the gooseberries too much because I was able to really target the penetration of the soil with that lovely narrow blade and just get those roots out. So this one was really good for that. But the winner of the Berry Bush Challenge is my little Capability garden trowel, and I think a lot of that has to do with the variety of weeds that we had here. There were just so many different sorts. This gave me the most options for dealing with lots of different types of weeds. So for this round, here's the winner. Now, the all-important question, how much do they cost? You probably won't be surprised to hear that the least expensive was the Mickear or Mickear weeding tool, which comes in at £7.99. Now that is British pounds. So if you're elsewhere in the world, that equates to about $10.25 in American currency, $15.70 in Australia, or 14 Canadian dollars and 16 cents. So this was our cheapest garden tool. The next cheapest was that lovely stainless steel Kent and Stowe Capability gardening trowel, which comes in at £14.99. And again, if you're elsewhere in the world, that works out to $19.24 American, $29.46 Australian, or $26.56 Canadian. Just slightly more expensive was the very durable Fiskars Xact gardening weeder, which comes in at just £16. Now again, if you are overseas, that works out to $20.55 American, $31.46 Australian, or $28.38 Canadian. And this means that our most expensive garden tool, coming in at £29.97, is the Burgeon and Ball Japanese style razor hoe. Results time. Drum roll, please. And the winner overall has to be the Capability Trowel, just because it was the best overall performer. Now, having said that, I think all 4 of these tools really deserve a place in your tool shed. This razor hoe, I think, is going to revolutionize how I keep weeds down. Remember, when you have a nice sharp hoe like this, if you can cut through the roots of young weeds, they won't continue to grow. So you don't have to physically pull up every weed. You can practice really good weed control with a hoe like this. So I think I'm going to be getting a lot of use for this. In fact, I'm going to make sure that whenever I sow seeds, I've got plenty of room to get the full width of that hoe between my seed rows so that I can keep those weeds down nice and easily. So this really has been a fabulous addition to my own personal tool collection. Likewise, I have to say, this was probably the one I was most surprised by. Now, this is the cheapest tool that we tested, and it has performed pretty well compared to some of the other tools. I mean, if you think basically £30 versus not even £8, this tool is amazing. I love my razor hoe. I will be using my razor hoe, but I'm not sure that it's nearly 4 times better than this little tool. So it just shows paying the most money for your tools isn't always the way to get the most effective garden tool for what your particular job is. Now, I really loved the Fiskars Xact gardening tool, absolutely miles ahead of the others in terms of removing those weeds with deep roots like dandelions, but that really is what it is. It is a specialist tool for that specialist job. But let me tell you, that specialist job, when you need to do it, is a pain in the backside. This made it so much easier. Lovely, big, comfortable double handle, lovely, strong, rigid stainless steel construction. I do not have a lot of complaints about this tool, and I would definitely be using it again far more often than I would probably like to in the future. Now, I should mention, dandelions are not the enemy. They're a fabulous plant. They're one of the plants that honeybees really rely on. They have structured their entire cycle of the year around when dandelions flower in the UK and Ireland. They're edible as well, but I don't want them coming up everywhere in my garden. So I have a little patch where the dandelions are allowed to roam free, and all the rest of you better watch out, because this is coming for you. So all 4 of these tools, I think, deserve a place in the tool shed. I am going to be making good use of all of them, I can assure you. If you're interested in buying any of these, I have popped the links down in the description just to make it easy for you. Full disclosure, if you click on those links, I may get a couple of pennies if you buy one of these. But this has been a genuine, honest review of these tools. I'm not a spokesperson or affiliated or anything with any of these brands. I just wanted to see how these very different shaped tools did in my very overgrown allotment. And I have to say, it is a lot less overgrown and a lot better weeded now than when I started. And I think with these in my arsenal, it's going to be a lot easier to get the rest of it sorted than it would have been otherwise. So if you are dealing with an overgrown garden or allotment, don't get stuck in a tool rut. There are some amazing things out there. Have a go, you won't be disappointed.